Back in vanilla WoW, raids were generally massive 40-person ordeals. There were only 3 healing options at the time, with everyone having access to Priest and Druid, while Shaman and Paladin being respectively Horde or Alliance exclusive. But really, there was Priest, and you could have maybe some of the other people, like, for utility. You could keep a Restoration Shaman in your party with other healers to drop mana totems, or a Paladin's Clutch Burst heal with Divine Favor, which guaranteed a crit on your next healing spell, could kind of turn things around. Druids provide a ton of utility and are very unique in their ability to spread around healing over time effects, or HOTS, which don't heal a lot right away, but gradually restore health, being extremely mana efficient, and allowing them to cover much of the raid at once. This sounds amazing, but there's another part of raid design that hindered HOTS: the amount and pacing of damage. With some exceptions, most of the damage output from a raid, if things were going correctly at least, was put onto the tanks, and bosses hit hard. So healing design was largely about keeping the tanks topped off at all times, and then tossing heals to the rest of the group as you were able to, or especially needed to. The main reason that it was so important, especially at lower raid tiers like Molten Core or Blackwing Lair, is that raid bosses were technically much higher level than players, and to spare you all of the technical details, that meant they could do something called crushing blows. There used to be a mechanic in WoW where melee attacks could have varying rates of success. You could miss, you could hit, you could crit. Sure, those are simple. But you could have something between those called a glancing strike, and it did less damage than normal, but obviously it still hit. Or if the enemy is higher level than you, they could get a crushing blow on you, which did damage between a normal hit and a critical hit. The reason this is so important is that sometimes you'd get a string of attacks on a tank where they get hit by a crushing blow, then a crit, then another crushing blow, and even with all of the armor and health in the world, this would certifiably kill anyone in a matter of seconds. So you need to make sure the person getting smacked by a raid boss is at full health. And that can have a lot of difficulty at times when you're also keeping the rest of the raid alive, and there's only so much healing to go around. There's a lot of coordination that has to go on across healers, and assigned roles dedicated to specific people, and especially once you get into Naxxramas, the last and hardest and coolest raid of vanilla WoW, where you have fights like Sapphiron, who radiates constant ice damage to the entire raid, things can get pretty intense.